It's been 5 weeks since the NFL regular season began, so we're at this point in time where it's pretty hard to tell which teams are contenders and which ones are actually pretenders. But that is why we're here for, to take a look at some notorious NFL teams that could be for real or a total farce. So without any further ado, our first pretender are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are off to a 3-1 start, which is amazing considering some people had them winning as many games in the entire season. They honestly have a pretty good shot at winning their division, but let's get real here. The Buccaneers are not a Super Bowl team, and I don't see them going too far in the playoffs. They have a pretty average roster, and the coaching isn't truly that great. I could see them winning a considerable amount of games, even say 10-11, but I don't think they have a chance at even getting past the divisional round of the playoffs. Moving on to the first contender, we have the Miami Dolphins. Offensively speaking, they are quite literally off to a historic start to their 2023 campaign. I mean, we're not even halfway through, and they already dropped a 70 piece on another team, which I'm honestly so sorry Broncos fans, but hey, that was impressive. Miami did lose a bad game against the Bills, but being completely honest, every team has ups and downs, and I think that was a fluke more than being exposed as a fraud. The Dolphins still have a top 3 offense in the NFL, with a good enough defense capable of doing the job when it's needed. I'm not saying Miami will win the Super Bowl, but they certainly have a much better chance than most of the other teams out there. The second pretender on this list are the Cleveland Browns. Look, they do have a very solid defense, but the offense is average, and well, the team as a whole isn't performing very well either. I think we all knew the Browns weren't gonna contend in 2023, I mean, why would they? But after an amazing week 1, most analysts overreacted and had them as Super Bowl contenders, which they are clearly not. They're currently ranked 3rd in their division, and honestly, even if they have a shot at finishing higher up, I just don't see them doing anything relevant in the playoffs. Being realistic, they probably won't even get in there. Now for our second contender, I have the Detroit Lions. Beating the reigning Super Bowl champions in week 1 is a huge flex, and despite losing a game against the Seahawks the very next week, they came right back in week 3. Detroit currently has its best team since forever, and they currently hold a very comfortable lead over the Packers in the NFC North, while also holding the tiebreaker. I think they will 100% get into the playoffs, and if they do, watch out. They have a very complete team, and despite me not having them as Super Bowl winners this year, I do think they could get as far as the conference championship this season, and who knows, maybe they even get to the big game. Up next, we have the Dallas Cowboys as pretenders. Week 1 was amazing. Week 2 was also pretty good. At that point in time, every Dallas fans made sure to completely overreact and buy Super Bowl tickets for February. Well, so sorry. This team is incredible, you won't let me lie, but they just don't have what it takes. They're not built for this. They've blown other teams out, yeah, but the 49ers literally just obliterated them in live television. I don't think that was a fluke, like, at all. It's totally something to worry about. Yeah, this is a top tier defense, but the Cowboys offense has been mediocre for quite a while now. Even 2 weeks ago against the Patriots, the scoreboard was pretty misleading given how terrible the Cowboys offense played. Yeah, they are good and I think they'll get into the playoffs, but going far, it doesn't really seem like it. Moving on with the contenders are the Philadelphia Eagles. They are one of 2 teams in the NFL yet to lose a game in 2023. The Eagles offense looks slightly worse than last year, but it has still been quite solid. Meanwhile, the defense is good enough to keep opposing offenses at bay. The Philadelphia Eagles currently have a pretty comfortable lead in the NFC East, and I'm pretty confident that they'll win it. And even if they don't, they'll 100% get into the playoffs. I personally think they have a pretty good shot at reaching the conference championship, and who knows, maybe at the end they'll manage to get right back to the Super Bowl this season. We shall see what happens, but one thing's for sure, the Eagles are legit. Jalen Hurts still has what it takes to win MVP, and this team is quite literally plagued with weapons. Oh, and don't forget to mention, the coaching staff is also looking pretty good so far in 2023. The fourth pretenders are the Pittsburgh Steelers. They currently hold a 3-2 record, which is good enough to have them sitting in first place in their division, while owning the tiebreaker over the rest of their rivals. However, I don't think this team will be able to do anything in the playoffs if they manage to even reach them. This defense is incredible, and I would even dare to say they're top 3 in the entire league. TJ Watt is not only looking like the defensive player of the year, but also like the MVP, an award he won't win because he ain't a quarterback. But aside from that, the Steelers offense is beyond terrible. Kenny Pickett has shown some signs of progression, but it ain't anything special. The offensive line is horrible, and well, you get the point. The Steelers offense isn't really that dangerous. But if that wasn't enough, Matt Canada currently seems as the worst offensive coordinator in history, and I truly don't understand why the Steelers are still holding on to him. Give this team an average offensive coordinator and they're a top 10 team, but in the meantime, I think they may be barely top 20 and definitely definitely not capable of winning a playoff game. Now for the contenders, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Being completely honest here, this team isn't the same one it was last year. A disappointing week 1 loss against the Lions, followed with some unimpressive wins, and with just one amazing win against Chicago, this team isn't looking as powerful as it did last season. However, Kansas City is known for starting out with the left foot, and just then they kinda get going. And so I think that's exactly what will happen here. Mahomes is still the best player in the NFL, and Andy Reid is undoubtedly a top 5 head coach. The offense doesn't have a lot of weapons outside of Travis Kelce, and the defense is looking quite average. However, there's no denying this team has established winning culture and the ability to make a Super Bowl run despite all complications that may arise. I don't think the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl this season, but they are definitely getting into the playoffs, and most probably as division champs. They may not be as scary as last year, but they are still a top tier team that should not be taken lightly. And our last pretender are the LA Chargers. This one was honestly a tough one. LA has an amazing offense plagued by superstars. Justin Herbert is currently playing as a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and Austin Eckler is set to return to the backfield as soon as this week. This offense is definitely able to keep up with shootouts, but there's one issue. One incredibly big issue, and that's the defense. The Chargers have been one of the worst teams in defense so far in 2023, and honestly, if they had even an average defense, they would probably be undefeated at this point in time. But that's not the reality. The truth is, LA does have an amazing offense, capable of even winning a Super Bowl, but that defense will hold them back big time, and I wouldn't even be surprised if the Chargers miss the playoffs altogether. And if that didn't already look bad enough, the coaching staff is questionable to say the least. I believe the Chargers have a pretty bright future, but it's hard for me to believe this team will turn things around within this season to actually be a threatening team in the playoffs. And the last contender of the list, the San Francisco 49ers. I think this team is winning the Super Bowl, as simple as that. San Francisco has, in my opinion, the best defense in the NFL by quite a large margin. I mean, having Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Talanoa Hufanga, and other superstars certainly guarantees you some success. Go to the other side of the ball, and there's also a ton of talent. Top 10 receiving corps, while having the best running back in the league, paired up with a top tier offensive line, yeah, that can only lead to success. Oh, and Brock Purdy is currently looking like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, with a pretty good chance of getting into a serious MVP conversation sooner rather than later. The coaching staff over in San Francisco is also incredibly talented, and so when you mix that all together, you get a heck of a contender capable of destroying any opposing team. I mean, we literally just witnessed what happened to the Cowboys last time around. This team is incredible, and anyone who dares to even doubt them will most probably be proven wrong. Like, there's a reason why they are still undefeated. The 49ers are undoubtedly the most powerful team in the NFL, and if they manage to stay healthy, they have a clear path to the Super Bowl, and I'm pretty sure they have what it takes to actually win it. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.